The mother of a woman shot and killed in the South Loop is speaking out for the first time about her daughter's death.
WGN's Jewel Hillary spoke with her, and she is in the South Loop now with more.
According to CPD, the person taken into custody for allegedly fatally shooting 31-year-old Romeca Meeks-Blackmon is released without charges. In the midst of her unbearable pain, Romeca's mom says she's eagerly seeking justice.
I want justice. She didn't deserve it.
A mother's routine school drop-off turns into a bloodbath, shot in broad daylight. But who's responsible? The killer is closer than anyone realized, and the truth will haunt you. Was it a tragic accident? Or was this something much more calculated? A brutal act of violence? Or something darker? The truth behind Romeca's death is far more chilling than we could have imagined. But how did it come to this? Welcome to Viral Crime Psychology. I pray for the safety of your families wherever they may be. If you're new here, please make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss our latest updates. We bring you the parts of the story that the media often leaves out. Don't forget to like, share, and comment below. For our regular viewers, welcome back. You know we always dig deep to uncover the truth, no matter how hidden it may be. Romeca Meeks-Blackmon, a loving mother, was shot dead in broad daylight outside her son's school, in front of innocent bystanders. Her death would send shockwaves through the entire community, but what appeared to be a random act of violence was anything but. A complex web of jealousy, betrayal, and revenge unfolds at the heart of this crime. A deadly love triangle involving Romeca, her ex, and his new girlfriend, each with a hidden agenda, leading to a deadly confrontation that no one could have predicted. Romeca's final words, a simple note to her son, tucked away in his lunchbox, a note that would become her last. In it, she poured out her love and pride for her son. A mother's love, taken away too soon, but the words she left behind would tell a story no one expected. But as the investigation unfolds, more dark secrets come to light, secrets that change everything we thought we knew about the case. Stay with us as we unravel this tragic story, piece by piece, revealing shocking new details that you won't hear anywhere else. Romeca Meeks-Blackmon was a devoted mother, a woman who lived for her son, her every decision guided by the love she felt for him. Before her untimely death, she took every opportunity to show him how important he was. Each day, she made sure her son felt cherished, secure, and loved. For Romeca, family was everything. She was proud of her son, and it showed in everything she did. On August 18, 2025, she wrote a post that captured the essence of her love for him. "You can start off strong. Always remain yourself. You're the coolest, smartest, and funniest kid I know. I love you so much, and you make me so proud. Have a great day. Mommy loves you. Love, Mommy." It wasn't just a note, it was a mother's last words to her child, words she likely never imagined would be her final goodbye. Her life, like many mothers, was filled with routines. Each morning, she made the drive to her son's school, dropping him off with the same warmth and affection. Her life wasn't easy, but her son made it all worth it. What seemed like an ordinary morning, the kind that mothers everywhere know too well, would soon take a tragic turn. Yet, as Romeca lived for her son, there were things she was grappling with, things she had not openly shared. In June 2025, just a few months before her death, she posted on social media, "Good morning. One thing I really dislike is when someone tells you don't speak on something that's bothering you or hurting you, so you just want me to sit around feeling a way about something and someone and remain silent. No, I'm gone, speak TF up and stand on how I feel. That's PPL problem now, harboring secret feelings or feeling some type of way about somebody and still being around them be crazy to me. Y'all made it so easy to be fake. I can't do it. I've been clearing shit out my life lately and been okay with whoever on that chopping block." Her words seemed to hint at unresolved feelings, a need to be heard, to confront something weighing heavily on her. It wasn't just a fleeting thought. This post was a reflection of the inner turmoil she was facing, a sign that something, perhaps far more complicated, was brewing just beneath the surface. Quadajah Johnson, the woman at the center of the storm, seemed to live an entirely different life than Romeca, but their worlds were more intertwined than anyone could have imagined. On the outside, Quadajah appeared to be just another woman, someone new in Romeca's ex's life. But behind closed doors, the tension was building. Romeca's ex and Quadajah shared a complicated past. They had history, and their connection was deep. Quadajah wasn't just the new girlfriend. She had a history with Romeca's ex, a history that could not be erased. That connection would become crucial in the series of events leading up to Romeca's death. On social media, Romeca was open about her feelings, her frustration with people who wouldn't hold themselves accountable for their actions. "I seriously hate a person that does not hold themselves accountable for their actions," she wrote in February 2025. "One thing about me, if I'm right or wrong, I fully hold myself accountable." Her post was a declaration, a demand for accountability, and it foreshadowed the growing tension between her and Quadajah. Quadajah, on the other hand, had been hiding behind a facade, a mask that kept her anger and jealousy in check for as long as possible. But Romeca's words resonated in a way that Quadajah could not ignore. This was no longer just about her relationship with Romeca's ex. It was about something far more personal, something that would push her to the edge. Her frustration, her need to protect her place in Romeca's ex's life, was simmering. Quadajah's posts reflected this, expressing frustration, resentment, and a desire to make sure her voice was heard. It wasn't just about a relationship, it was about control and the desperation to be seen and acknowledged. As the animosity grew, Romeca's social media became a space for her to air her thoughts, even as the conflict with Quadajah simmered. Romeca's post about harboring secret feelings and the toll of pretending everything was fine pointed to a struggle that had been festering for months. There was no more pretending, no more silence. The escalating tension between the two women would soon come to a head. Romeca Meeks-Blackmon and Quadajah Johnson were tied to the same man, a connection that would prove to be a volatile one. While their lives initially seemed separate, the thread that connected them, Romeca's ex-partner, soon became a source of jealousy, resentment, and conflict. The two women were bound together by a man, but their feelings toward each other were anything but neutral. Romeca, still emotionally tethered to her ex, had a past with him that couldn't be severed. Quadajah, on the other hand, was determined to secure her place in his life, feeling as though she had to fight for it at every turn. The tensions between them escalated slowly at first. Romeca, though no longer in a relationship with her ex, still had a deep connection with him through their child. She had a right to be involved in his life, but as Quadajah entered the picture, her position became more complicated. This wasn't just about a breakup, it was about a battle for control. Romeca's frustrations grew, especially as she saw the new girlfriend trying to claim a place that she felt should have remained hers. Their interactions were far from cordial. While both women attempted to maintain an appearance of civility, the truth was much darker. Social media became the outlet for their unspoken animosities, especially for Romeca, who made her feelings known. The days leading up to the tragic shooting were filled with increasingly bitter exchanges. Romeca's social media posts became more pointed and confrontational. Her tone shifted, no longer just expressing frustration, but signaling that things were no longer sustainable. "I can't stay silent anymore," she wrote. It was a declaration, a warning that the pressure was mounting and she could no longer hold back her emotions. But in the eyes of Quadajah, these posts were more than just a woman's personal struggles. They were a challenge. And in her mind, Romeca had crossed a line. Behind closed doors, Quadajah's jealousy festered. Her frustration over the past relationship with Romeca's ex, the feelings of being threatened by the presence of Romeca in their lives, and the constant need to assert herself took a toll. She was determined to remain in control, to prove that she, and not Romeca, had a place in this new family dynamic. But Romeca, with every post, every word, was pushing back. The growing resentment between them wasn't just a matter of words. It was a fight for dominance, for control over the relationship with the man they both shared, but in different ways. The final days before Romeca's death seemed almost ordinary. She went about her routine just as she always had. There was no sign of the tragedy that was about to unfold, but beneath the surface the tension was palpable. Every exchange between her and Quadajah, whether direct or indirect, only deepened the rift. What seemed like normal interactions were, in fact, the calm before the storm. Romeca's last morning with her son was like so many others. It was just another school drop-off. They exchanged a brief goodbye, a moment filled with love and care. Romeca made sure to remind her son how much she loved him, something she did every day. It was the kind of reassurance every mother gives, that small yet significant gesture of care before sending their child off into the world. But what seemed like an ordinary moment between mother and child would mark the last time she would see him. "Have a great day, baby. Mommy loves you," she told him as she waved him off. It was simple, yet it carried an immense weight. That final moment would be the last normal interaction they would ever have. As she pulled away from the school, there was no indication of what was to come. The world around her remained oblivious to the fact that, in just a matter of minutes, she would be shot dead. The unspoken animosities, the simmering jealousy, and the rivalry would culminate in a violent eruption, one that no one could have seen coming. What happened next would set the stage for one of the most shocking and tragic moments of Romeca's life, and ultimately lead to her death. The situation, years in the making, had reached its breaking point. Quadajah, fueled by anger, resentment, and a need to assert herself, took matters into her own hands. The bitter rivalry between the two women, which had been simmering for months, would finally explode in a way no one could have predicted. By 7:45 a.m., the unimaginable happened. The sound of gunshots pierced the calm of the morning. It all took place in a span of mere seconds, but it would leave a lasting scar on everyone who witnessed it. Eyewitnesses later reported seeing a figure, Quadajah Johnson, Romeca's ex's new girlfriend, approaching Romeca's car. It was clear that something had escalated between the two women. A confrontation that had been months in the making had reached its boiling point. A heated argument ensued, and before anyone could intervene, Quadajah pulled out a firearm and fired at Romeca. A shot rang out, then another. Romeca collapsed in her car. She had no chance to escape, no chance to fight back. Her life was taken in the span of those few moments, at the very place where she had just kissed her son goodbye. Witnesses in the parking lot were stunned by the sound of the shots. Some reported seeing Quadajah standing over Romeca's vehicle after the shooting, her movements frantic, her face unreadable. Some rushed to help, but it was already too late. Romeca lay slumped in the driver's seat. Others immediately dialed 911, reporting the shooting and describing the chaotic scene. Security footage from nearby cameras later revealed critical details. It showed Quadajah walking calmly toward Romeca's car, followed by the brief interaction between the two women. The footage captures the moment when Quadajah pulls out the gun and fires. But in those few seconds, it's unclear if anyone truly understood the extent of the violence that was unfolding. Neighbors in the surrounding area reported hearing the gunshots, but by the time they arrived at the scene, the shooter had fled. The calm, residential area had been thrown into chaos. The crime was swift, brutal, and left the community in shock. Romeca's family was immediately contacted. As the news spread, the magnitude of the crime slowly began to sink in. No one knew exactly what had transpired, but the family was left to deal with the unthinkable. A mother had been murdered in broad daylight, and they were now left to piece together the details of what led to her tragic death. In the immediate aftermath, many assumed it was a random shooting. The idea that this could have been targeted, that the shooter could have been someone involved in Romeca's personal life, wasn't immediately clear. This was no ordinary crime, but the truth, as they would soon discover, was far more complicated. As the investigation began to unfold, more details started to emerge. It was soon revealed that this was not a random act of violence at all. The tragic shooting had been the result of a personal conflict, one that had been escalating for months. The police learned that Quadajah Johnson, the woman responsible for the shooting, had been in a tumultuous relationship with Romeca's ex-partner, and the animosity between the two women had been simmering beneath the surface. The initial confusion over the identity of the shooter slowly gave way to the truth. It wasn't just an isolated incident. It was a crime of passion, driven by jealousy and an intense desire for control. The shooting was the culmination of a series of events that had been set in motion long before that fateful morning. As police questioned witnesses, pieced together security footage, and examined social media posts from both Romeca and Quadajah, the layers of tension between the two women became undeniable. Romeca's posts had hinted at frustration and anger, an underlying feeling that something was about to break. And unfortunately, it did. The community's initial confusion was replaced by a growing understanding of the circumstances that led to the tragic death. The tragedy of Romeca's death was compounded by the realization that the person who had taken her life was someone with a history tied to her own family. The community had been shaken to its core, and the true story behind the shooting was slowly coming into focus. The first breakthrough came from security footage obtained from nearby cameras. It showed Quadajah Johnson approaching Romeca's car moments before the shots were fired. However, it was the digital footprints, texts, social media posts, and online activity that truly began to unravel the mystery. Romeca's social media posts from earlier in the year had pointed to mounting frustration and tension, but Quadajah's own posts told a different story. She had made several online comments that seemed to suggest her growing animosity toward Romeca. These posts, filled with anger and resentment, provided investigators with key insights into her state of mind in the days leading up to the crime. Police were faced with false leads and dead ends that led them down a number of false trails. Initial reports speculated that the shooting could have been a result of a domestic dispute involving other individuals in the neighborhood. Investigators considered several theories. Could it have been a robbery gone wrong, or perhaps a random act of violence in a quiet part of town? But all those theories failed to explain the specifics of the case, particularly the deliberate nature of the shooting and the clear connection between Quadajah and Romeca's ex. As investigators dug deeper, they found that Quadajah's social media activity was a window into her escalating rage. Her inability to control her emotions, coupled with the growing jealousy she felt toward Romeca, was exposed for all to see. Her online posts were a damning confession of her state of mind in the days leading up to the shooting, revealing how her anger had festered into something much darker. Additionally, Quadajah's behavior in the immediate aftermath of the crime raised suspicions. She had been spotted near the scene shortly after the shooting, behaving in a manner that seemed too calm for someone who had just committed such a violent act. Her attempts to cover her tracks, including deleting posts and changing her story, only made the case against her stronger. It wasn't long before police honed in on the true suspect, Quadajah Johnson, the new girlfriend. After weeks of following the evidence, law enforcement confirmed what many had suspected. The shooting was not a random act. It was the result of a heated and personal conflict that had been growing for months. The arrest of Quadajah Johnson was a moment of relief for Romeca's family, but it was also the start of a long, emotional journey through the legal system. The investigation had revealed chilling details about the motivations behind the crime, and now the public and the community were waiting for justice. As the investigation continued, more hidden evidence emerged, including a set of text messages between Quadajah and a close friend. These messages revealed her plans and the deep-seated jealousy that had consumed her. The texts confirmed that Quadajah had long been plotting a way to remove Romeca from the picture, and the shooting was the culmination of that plan. The case was now in the hands of the courts, and all eyes were on the upcoming trial. The evidence was overwhelming, but the courtroom drama was just beginning. Would Quadajah be able to defend her actions, or would she be held accountable for the devastating crime she had committed? The public awaited answers. Would justice be served for Romeca Meeks-Blackmon, a mother whose life was tragically cut short by jealousy and rage? The courtroom would soon provide the final chapter to this tragic tale. In the wake of Romeca Meeks-Blackmon's senseless death, her family and friends were left grappling with a profound loss. A mother who had been deeply involved in her son's life, who had worked tirelessly to provide and care for him, was now gone. Her family was devastated, struggling to comprehend the events that had led to her murder. Romeca's mother, Tina McMiller, made a statement to the press. "We're in shock. Romeca was a good person, a loving mother. She didn't deserve this. No one deserves this. My daughter was taken from us too soon." Her words echoed the sentiments of the entire family, who found it difficult to reconcile the vibrant, loving woman they knew with the brutal, violent death she had endured. The tragedy reverberated throughout the community. Neighbors and friends of Romeca described her as a kind-hearted, dedicated mother who always put her son first. The senseless nature of her death shocked them. How could something like this happen in broad daylight? How could someone take the life of a mother in front of her child's school? One neighbor said. The entire neighborhood, once a quiet and peaceful place, now felt irrevocably changed. The pain and sorrow were palpable, but so too was the anger. The feeling that this tragedy could have been avoided left many in a state of disbelief. Romeca's story became a call for change, a reminder of the violence that sometimes lurks in the most unexpected places, but also of the importance of taking action when it's needed most. The news of Romeca's death spread quickly, not only throughout the neighborhood, but across the wider community. People gathered, held vigils, and called for justice. The community was united in grief, but there was also a shared outrage over the brutality of the act. Local officials and community leaders also spoke out. This tragedy is a reminder that domestic violence and the toll of unhealthy relationships don't always stay behind closed doors, one local politician said in a press conference. We must do better to protect our families, to ensure that no one else has to suffer in this way. The crime not only impacted the immediate family, but rippled outward, making the community question how such an act of violence could unfold in a seemingly safe and familiar place. The tragic murder of Romeca Meeks-Blackmon raised important legal questions. As the details of the case unfolded, many began asking whether more could have been done to prevent this kind of violence. In the months following Romeca's death, lawmakers in Illinois began pushing for stricter domestic violence legislation. Some advocated for changes in how restraining orders were enforced, ensuring they were taken more seriously and more rigorously enforced, especially in cases involving escalation to violence. There were calls for more awareness and better systems to identify and intervene in toxic relationships before they turned deadly. While no specific new laws were passed immediately in response to this case, the tragedy sparked an important conversation about how communities, law enforcement, and lawmakers could better protect individuals in violent situations. Romeca's death, tragic as it was far from an isolated incident. Throughout history, countless women have been caught in the crossfire of toxic relationships, caught between jealousy, resentment, and betrayal. Her case mirrors countless other stories of love triangles turning deadly, where personal vendettas and unresolved emotional conflicts result in devastating consequences. From high-profile cases to more subtle, less publicized incidents, the pattern is clear. Love triangles, when fueled by jealousy and anger, often spiral out of control. The loss of Romeca Meeks-Blackmon was a stark reminder of how deep-seated emotional conflicts can lead to violence, often with heartbreaking results. For the family and community, the bigger question remained: could this tragedy have been avoided? Could someone have intervened? Could Romeca have been protected from the escalating violence that led to her death? While no one can change what happened, her story serves as a stark reminder of the importance of recognizing warning signs and providing support to those in need before it's too late. As we reflect on Romeca's life and death, we must ask ourselves, could this tragedy have been avoided? Were there moments where intervention could have changed the course of events? Could this senseless act have been stopped before it took a life? There's no simple answer, but one thing is clear. Recognizing the signs of escalating conflict and acting early can prevent future tragedies. Romeca's case reminds us all of the importance of addressing emotional abuse, jealousy, and unhealthy relationships before they cross the line into violence. Romeca Meeks-Blackmon was a mother who loved her son deeply. She worked tirelessly to create a future for him, and her last moments were spent making sure he felt her love. The community, her family, and her friends will always remember her for the woman she was, strong, loving, and devoted. Her legacy lives on in the lessons we learn from her story. Her untimely death serves as a reminder of the importance of family, the need to protect those we love, and the power of recognizing when things aren't right. In the wake of Romeca's death, her memory will continue to inspire those who knew her to fight for justice, to fight against violence, and to ensure that no one else suffers the same fate. Her story will never be forgotten. What do you think? Could this tragedy have been prevented? Was there a moment where someone could have intervened or noticed the warning signs? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I want to hear your perspective on this heartbreaking story and whether you believe anything could have been done to change the outcome. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell to stay updated. We've got more true crime stories coming your way. Stories that will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about justice, love, and the darkness that sometimes hides just beneath the surface. How far would you go to protect your family? When faced with difficult choices, what would you do if you were in Romeca's shoes? Could you stand by while your world crumbled around you, or would you fight for control, no matter the cost? Think about it. We all have a breaking point, a place where we can't let things slide anymore. How much would you sacrifice to keep those you love safe? Romeca's story isn't just about one woman's tragic fate. It's a reminder of how fragile life can be and how small moments can change everything. As always, thank you for being part of this journey. Stay vigilant, stay informed, and keep asking the tough questions.